Hello and welcome to Kate's Paper Creations. I am a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Washington State, and this is my weekly video showing current products. So let me get right to it. These are 4 cards that we're going to be making today using various things, but one basic stamp set. So let me get to that and we will get started. The stamp set I'm using today is called Borders Abound. And it's got 4 different borders representing the various seasons. So it's got some leaves and vines here for fall, some snowflakes for winter. I made these flowers spring and this one for summer. But of course you could those are kind of optional. You could go either way. So let me show you the 4 cards I made. We'll start with the one that I used for spring. And when I think of spring, I think of a time when colors, you know, you're just so ready for summer and ready to get out of the doldrums of the gray days and the rain and all of that. So at least in this part of the country. So this is nice and bright. So let me talk about what we used. Of course, there's the Borders Abound, and it starts with a 5.5 by 8.5 piece of Whisper White thick that I will fold on the 4 1/4 line and burnish to make a standard A2 card base out of Whisper White thick. Then I took this paper, came from Flowers for Every Season Designer Series paper. It's a 6 by 6 paper pack that's in the catalog, and I cut those 1 1/4 inches wide by 4 1/4 inches, and we're going to just attach them up the side of each one. And I think I cut these too long, so we'll just trim them off. And here's the other one. Going to go up the other side. There we go. And they are too long, so we'll just turn it over and trim those off. Get rid of that. Then I took the Marvelous Magenta ink. It's one of the colors of those stripes in those lovely pieces of paper. And I used the flower image, and we will ink that up. And I am just going to stamp it close to the paper like that. Turn it around and stamp one on this side like that. Put that there. Then I cut a piece of Daffodil Delight, and I embossed it with the Ornate Floral embossing folder. That's this one here. Has a lovely floral pattern in it, so it fits with the flowers. And I'm going to attach it. I cut it, I believe it's 1 1/2. Yes, 1 1/2 by 4 1/4. And I just centered that right up the center of those 2 pieces, like that. So there's the basic. Then I used the ornate frames to cut this little frame out of Whisper White. And then I used a dauber and that Magenta Madness and put some ink around the edge, just so it would stand out a little bit better when I attached it to the front of the card. And I stamped the Hello, which is also from the Borders Abound stamp set, and I just stamped it with that Marvelous Magenta as well. Isn't that pretty? Just love that color. And then I mounted it with dimensionals. and I just centered it. Now obviously you could do it however you choose, but that's what I did. And then I wanted some sparkly or something, so I got out the Artistry Blooms sequins, and there's one in there that's kind of got a pinkish tone to it, and I just attached a few of those to the sentiment piece. Just like that. And so there is card number 1. Spring has sprung. Okay, let's move on to the one I did for summer. For summer, I wanted some more subtle colors. I didn't want to go quite so bright. So, excuse me. So this is the one right here that I made for summer. Now these papers, again, the stamp part came from Borders Abound, but these papers came from Peony. Yeah, Peony Garden, excuse me. Peony Garden Designer Series paper. Lovely paper. And this is a petal pink in this, so that I just played that out monochromatically and stayed with petal pink for everything in this card. So let's make that card. They're going to be very similar. So again, it's just a standard A2 greeting card base made out of Whisper White Thick, and we will get that. And then I cut the 2 pieces, 1 1/4 inch by 4 1/4. That are going to go up the side. We'll get both of those going. Just a really soft, subtle color. I love this color. And the design is just really, really pretty. Get those up the side so you can see they're all following the same pattern, which is kind of cool. You can take and create so much with just the simplest of things. So we're going to use the petal pink ink, and I am going to ink this border that I decided was the summer border. And I want to just get it as close to that as I can. I'll stamp it in there. There's that one. And we'll turn it around. And we'll do this one. And there we go. There's that one. Then I'm also going to stamp the sentiment, which is also just used to the thank you from the Borders Abound stamp set. I'm going to put that right in the center of a tag that I cut out of the Ornate Borders, with the Ornate Borders dies. Put that on there like that. Set that aside for a second. This is cut 1 1/2. It's a little bit too wide, so I'm going to narrow it down just a little bit. I started out at 1 1/2, and 1 1/2 is too wide, so I'm going to go to 1 3/8, which is going to be right there. And we're going to take just a little bit off of the edge so that we can fit it between that border. It's a little bit wider of a border. Yeah, that'll fit much better. So then we'll attach that. It's going to be too long. I'm just going to put it on there and then trim off the excess again. Right up the center like that. Get my scissors. Trim that off. So there's the base card ready to go. Like I say, I stamped this, and now I'm going to attach it also with dimensionals. Let's get this out of the way. And again, I just centered that right on there like that. And then in my stash, there are these butterfly gems, and they didn't have a perfect match, but I rather liked this color that's here, and I think it matched well enough to look good with the cards. So I added some butterflies with those butterfly gems. You can add 2 or 3. I'm just going to put 2 on this one. I like that. So a couple of butterflies, because there's some butterflies in here. It kind of ties it all together. And so there is card number 2, and that's summer. Okay, let's move on to the fall card, which is going to be this one. You can see that, how pretty that is. This one starts with a very vanilla base, and I'm using the Gilded Autumn Designer Series paper, and cut my 2 strips for up the side, 1 1/4 by 4 1/4, and we'll just do this. And we'll mount those. Here we go. And then we're going to stamp this one, and we're using early espresso. And I thought about coloring these in because they're actually designed to be able to do that. But then I didn't. I liked them just the way they were. So with the early espresso, I went right up the middle like that. Then this color in here is mint macaron, so I cut a piece of mint macaron, and I embossed that with, find my notes here, wrapped in texture embossing folders. Here they are, and there's 2 of them in there, and I used this one that's very intricate here. It's got little dashes, and that's going to go right here in the center. I'll just put it right between the 2 evenly. And a little bit more to the right. That looks good right there. Okay, so that's in place. Then I wanted a pumpkin, so I used the pumpkins from, I better make sure I get that right side up, from Autumn Essentials. They have dies, and I cut out this pumpkin, but I didn't want it to just be a flat looking pumpkin, so then I cut out the detailed piece as well, and I got out my pumpkin pie ink pad and a brush, and let me show you what I did. I'll get my tool here to hold things in place. I set this on top and lined it up and held it in place with this tool, and then I just took my brush and added a little bit of shading so that when you pull it away, hopefully you can see that it leaves the light and dark lines, so it gave that pumpkin some shape, so it wasn't just a flat looking pumpkin. And then I took this sentiment, and it came from Autumn Goodness, all good things come from above, and I'm going to stamp it on that with early espresso, just like that. And then I attached this pumpkin with dimensionals. Onto that center strip, just like that. Now, if you had some of those gold rings that are in the new catalog, you could maybe add one of those. You could add some leaves and things coming out of the pumpkin. You could get carried away and do all kinds of embellishing to make this even more beautiful, but I like it just simple like that. So there's the fall card. The last one is the winter card. Becomes a Christmas card. And this is what it looks like finished. And let me show you how we made that one. Get my pieces here. Again, this one started with a very vanilla thick card base to make an A2 card. I'm going to burnish that down. And this paper came from the Brightly Gleaming Designer Series paper. And it was a return from last year. They brought it back because it was so popular. Everybody loved it, and I could see why. One side has foils in it, one side's regular, and there's just so many things you can do with it. And it's not strictly a Christmassy paper. It can be used for other things as well. As you can tell, just from this stripe alone could make a wonderful masculine card. So I did the stripes. Again, they're 1¼ inches wide by 4¼ long, and they just run up the sides like that. And then we are going to stamp the snowflakes with Night of Navy up the sides. Just like that. I think that was pretty. That's a really pretty one. Then, because Night of Navy was fitting into this so well, I cut a piece of Night of Navy. This Night of Navy is, let me make sure, yeah, I did do 1½. And I embossed this with the Lace Dynamic embossing folder. And I positioned it in there so that I would have these specific snowflake-like design there. And these, so I cut it a little bit wider so that I could trim it down exactly the same so it looked even, if you know what I mean. And so that's embossed, and then I'm going to just attach it flat in the middle, just like that. Okay, then this also uses the punches, and I wrote it down what they're called, gleaming ornament punches, and there's 2 different ornaments. Where's my one I have to work with? Here it is. And it makes an ornament that like this, and I have a little trick. I'm going to be turning on my heat tool, so pardon the noise. And I'm going to take Versamark ink because I want the top of this ornament to have its little gold topper on it. And so I just took this and turned it over and situated it on there and just pressed it onto there like that, onto the Versamark ink. And then I got my gold embossing powder and I just dipped it in there and let it get stuck to it like that. And then oops, I moved my camera, sorry. And then heat set it, of course. There it goes. Now, no more noise. Get wrapped up in my cords here. So that makes that really pretty gold topper on there. Then Merry Christmas. Find my Merry Christmas. It came from Arrange a Wreath, and I just had to find one that would fit on the ornament, and so that's why it wins. So Merry Christmas stamped with Night of Navy. Now I have some extra little snowflakes on that tag, on that sentiment tag. I'm going to clean up my stamp. Get it nice and clean. And we'll stamp it off, make sure it's not going to leave any marks I don't want. And I got out the Night of Navy marker, brush end, and I just colored in. Let's get the right one. I grabbed the wrong stamp. Too many projects in front of me, see? That's okay. At least I knew what I was doing before I got too far along. And we'll make sure that that one's stamping clean, and it is. Okay, so then I brought in my Night of Navy marker, and I colored just the snowflakes. I didn't want the swirl, just the snowflakes. There's a bit there I don't want. There we go. Okay, and then I just stamp them on. Isn't this cute? And we'll do it one another time here. Get some more of them on there. It's sticking to me. And then I wanted some up in there as well, so I'm going to clean it again. And it's just, you know, it's just being particular, I guess you'd say. Let's do those three like that, and we're gonna, so that's going to be these three over here, so I can put it in there maybe like that. Just got a piece of it. It's okay if it stamps off. It's really not that big a deal. Still looks good. I'm going to stamp that one over here like that, and that's enough. That gets some snowflakes on my tag as well. And then I attached it with dimensionals again. And I just centered it again. And then there's this thread, and where'd my bow go? Things get away from me when my table gets cluttered. Well, I'll just show you with the finished card. This bow, it's hiding from me, is from the Flowers for Every Season ribbon combo. And this is the Misty Moonlight thread with silver in it, and so I thought it fit perfect, and so I made a bow to put on there. So that's the finished one of those for the winter. So there's the cards, all of them ready to go. Let's get them up here. Here is spring, and summer, and fall, and winter. So thanks for stopping by. Hope you enjoyed today's video.